Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot, and in the wake of patch 1.4 for Jurassic World Evolution, I thought we'd do a fairly relaxed little discussion video talking about what the future of Jurassic World Evolution is probably going to be, as in what we can probably expect in the next 6 months or so, in the next 3 months, what's going to be the next big addition to the game. Whilst that's going on, we're going to hang around in the very first unique park we built as part of our ongoing park building series. In Jurassic World Evolution, this is our one park, 48 species. You'll remember back in the day, one of the big problems we had with this park, that's why there's no dinosaur in here right now, was that, what's getting shipped over? Is that the baryonyx coming in over here? I suspect so. One of the big problems we had was our dinosaurs dying. By the time we finished, you know, the lifespans were so short that I couldn't actually finish the park without some of my dinosaurs just dying of old age. Thankfully, that is no longer an issue, thanks to the new sandbox update in 1.4, and my dinosaurs can now live forever. Right, where's my Indominus Rex? Tenebris. All the dinosaurs are named as well, except maybe some of the new ones. There's Monstrous, for example. Lovely stuff. So we'll just have a little wander around the park. I will try to get comfortable, and as with the last video, I am slightly dead, so apologies if I sneeze on your face. Right, Donald Trump. Oh yeah, because he's orange, as you can see. Anyways, moving on. So, with patch 1, right, I think first of all we have to address why patch 1.4 existed in the first place. It was about 3 months after the game released, something like that. Can't believe it's been that long already. And the point of patch, the problem is they couldn't release a DLC patch, you know, like an actual paid DLC, like we were maybe expecting with new dinosaurs or something like that, with the game in the state it was. Patch 1.4 does genuinely, even if it's not enough in my opinion, and I'm sure in the opinion of a lot of you guys at home, it does fix a lot of the basal issues the game had. You know, the base game, the very basic fabric of the game is now much, much better than it was in the past. It really is. You know, the sandbox changes are really good. Being able to control daytime on other islands, the dinosaur behaviours are a little bit better, a little bit easier to control. The dinosaur lifespan being doubled is a big change for your playthrough. Other things like, I had something in my head and I've completely lost it. Let me think. Oh, I've completely forgotten. Either way, there's a lot of stuff that makes your general playthrough. Oh, how the dinosaurs register their environment around them. You know, the sauropods in particular, you saw it on my main playthrough, that very first playthrough we ever did. Wherein, you got your eyes open? No. Can you open your eyes for the thumbnail, please? Thanks, pal. I don't know, we just need a nice... Oh, you know, no. Bloody hell, Paul. Can you go stand somewhere better for me, please? Is that better? No, Paul, you're being rubbish. That changed so the sauropods are so much easier to manage now. You know, you still need a big exhibit with a lot of forest, which is absolutely fine. They should be difficult dinosaurs to control. The problem was they were near enough impossible to control. They walked into a corner and they blew their freaking minds. That stuff is no longer in the game, and it is a really, really important change. There we go. Thanks, Paul. I just need a thumbnail. Oh. It didn't really matter what it was, just had to be a dinosaur. So the base game has obviously now been improved, and you can't really bring out DLC, paid DLC for your game if the base game kind of sucks. And the base game didn't suck, it was fine, but it definitely needed improvement. Now that's done, however, I would be surprised if paid DLC... I would be surprised, A, if paid DLC wasn't already being worked on, and B, if we don't see it relatively soon. I think it's important with games like this that we always know what to expect down the line. Patch 1.4.3 just came out, which was just a few more bug fixes. There's still some problems people are having with the old save games, wherein they don't, you know, work. Hopefully that's being fixed as well. I know a lot of you at home have had that issue. Thankfully, I've completely avoided it so far. But counterintuitively, a lot of people had problems with the dinosaurs, the roster before the game came out, because there's a lot of repetition in some ways, and there's a lot of herbivores. Personally, I think the dinosaur roster is absolutely fine, thanks to the Fallen Kingdom dinosaurs. I now think we have enough basal variety in the game that it's not really an issue in the slightest. You know, I would be happy for the next 6 months or so to play with the same 48 dinosaurs. I feel like there's a lot of dinosaurs you don't play with on a day-to-day basis. We do in this park because we have every single dinosaur in this park, but generally speaking, I suspect most people don't touch about half the dinosaur roster or something like that, unless you are one of the people who specifically tries to do just that. It'd be nice to get 2 more dinosaurs, just to get the number up to 50. It'd be nice if one of the 3 patches down the line that addresses some of the existing issues and maybe updates some of the other stuff I'll talk about in a second, introduces 1 or 2 dinosaurs every now and again, just as a way to keep the players who don't want to pay, you know, having an expanding roster, albeit slowly. There are still areas for improvement, which I'm hoping Frontier address as patches rather than paid DLC. The fundamental problems the game has. It's not dinosaur behaviours necessarily. Okay, sleeping and stuff like that would be a very good addition to the game. Just some slightly more complex dinosaur behaviours, you know, herding, for example, would be nice. But other than that, what is in this? I thought it was meant to be baryonyx. Oh, it's in this. Suchomimus even. Yeah, buddy, look at that edgy skin there. Love it. Other than that, it's pretty good. I think the things that need improving, however, are terrain tools and decorations. And maybe building variety, but that's less of a priority. Terrain tools and decorations are, for me, now the two biggest priorities in the game, because the game lacks customization, lacks customability on a very, very extreme level. It's becoming very difficult for me to continue building unique parks like this one, and the later parks, which I think are substantially better than this one, because of the lack of customization. All parks are big and green and foresty, you know, there's no difference there. Even the introduction of a sand tool, that's all we need, would make a monstrous difference to how we can design our parks. The lack of decorations like benches and flags and more aesthetic decorations like skulls or skeletons and statues and stuff like that is also really hurting our park customization abilities. And because that is something, for me, that is the last thing that is fundamentally missing from the base game. The dinosaur behaviours could be improved, but I would be okay if they'd released how they were. If patch 1.4 was the base version of the game we got when it was first available, I think people would have had less issues. But the two remaining issues, or the big one remaining issue, would be that lack of customization, primarily through decorations and terrain tools. And the terrain tools just, they're a pain in the ass, more than anything else, and you don't really have much control with them. So I think people would be a little upset if those were released as part of DLC, and hopefully that's not what they do. I'd be a little worried that Frontier are considering, say, a themed dinosaur pack, you know, dinosaurs off the coastline, and then they'll release like a tool that goes with it, like a brush tool. And I think if they're going to do anything with terrain tools or decorations in the slightest, it has to be free. It absolutely has to be, because it is a fundamental thing missing from the game right now. One of the only fundamental things, but it is a fundamental thing. This is really just me blabbering on, by the way, in case you didn't realise. But past that, once that's added, I honestly think the base game is pretty much good to go. Let's say we got 3 or 4 more terrain types. We could put down dirt, we could put down sand, we could put down rock. We could add some rocks to the game, we could add some individual trees, we could add statues, we could add some flower beds. Imagine you can do just those, just like 20 decorations, 3 or 4 more terrain tools. I really think at that point the base game is absolutely sorted. And then past then, whatever they add could be justified as purely paid DLC, because at the end of the day, it's all well and good to appreciate these free updates. You know, we just got a big free content update with the challenge mode and all this kind of stuff. But if we want this game to be supported for 2 to 3 years down the line, at least until the next Jurassic World film comes out, then they can't just do that for free forever. You need paid DLC to support a game like this over the long term. Now, the obvious thing to introduce is, of course, dinosaur packs, and I suspect that is going to be the next thing we see. A pack of, say, 4 or 5 dinosaurs for, I'd imagine, £2 to £3 per dinosaur, probably £10 in UK money, €15, maybe $20, $15, something like that, for 5 or so dinosaurs. I think that's quite a logical thing to do, and I think that's something you could push out every 2 to 3 months, and therefore keep the game interesting, and give players a reason to come back again and again and again, which is a very important thing. Games as a service is, you know, completely the buzzword in the industry right now. It's not about necessarily how many people buy your game, it's about how many people, oh God, you're gorgeous, aren't you? It's about how many people keep coming back to your game over a long period of time. You want people to be talking about your game in 2 to 3 years, because you want people to keep their interest until the sequel comes out, and that's how you get more money from people. If people buy your game, play it for 20 hours and never play it again, then maybe you've got good sales, but now you're trying to, you know, spend a couple of years developing a sequel with no consistent income from that first game. So games as a service is, of course, a very big thing right now. And one way to do that is, you know, lots of DLC and lots of events and stuff like that. I do think they need, like, maybe weekly events or something to keep players coming back that is free, but, you know, whatever. I've talked about that in the past. We can talk about that in the future. Past that, what do you do DLC-wise? I think some sort of hybrid DLC is likely. People may not be happy about it, but this is a Jurassic World game and a Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom game, not a Jurassic World 3 game. We know hybrids are no longer a big focus of the series. Maybe that is a reason why Universal would nix it as an idea, because, you know, they don't want the focus to be on hybrids anymore, because there aren't going to be any hybrids in Jurassic World 3, as confirmed by Colin Trevorrow. Why are you called Golf? As confirmed by Colin Trevorrow. But I would be surprised if we end up with Indominus Rex and Indoraptor as the only 2 hybrids in the game. Now, I don't think we'll ever get the capability to make our own hybrids. I just don't think that's something that's going to happen. But one thing I'd like to see them do, and what I hope they'll consider, is a community vote sort of thing. Maybe if that is for hybrids, maybe we get an Ultimasaurus in the game, maybe we get the Stegoceratops. I suspect Stegoceratops will make it in eventually. And maybe Frontier would want to make some of their own, flex their own creativity a little bit, make their own hybrid dinosaurs. With that, we could introduce new buildings, maybe like a hybrid facility building that you have to build to develop these new hybrids. Just some basic buildings added to the game to make our parks look a little bit more interesting. I strongly suspect as well we will eventually get a 1993 DLC pack, which would maybe give the dinosaurs some skins, or maybe not even a 1993 one specifically, but a classic Jurassic Park pack. You'd introduce some of the old skins, so the raptors would get like a tiger skin, the Rex would get like the bull skin from the Lost World, maybe even the really cool raptor skins from Jurassic Park 3. If they wanted to bring in just a smattering of feathers, that'd be really nice. And I think it's, you know, like having a unique raptor model based on the Lost World or based on Jurassic Park 3 would be a really cool way to mix up our existing dinosaurs, because at the moment we do lack for interesting skins, if we're honest. So that'd be really nice. I'd really like to see that down the line. And of course with that you'd have, say, alternate building styles. So instead of the Innovation Center, for example, I guess this would have to be the one you choose, you could replace that with a Welcome Center from Jurassic Park. You could replace your other buildings with more 1993 style Jurassic Park designs. You could have toilets. We need toilets. Can we please have toilets? Can we have like a guest DLC that gives them, or maybe a free update, I don't know which it should be, that gives them needs and makes them into real people and lets us walk around. At the moment guests aren't real people, basically. Guests are a visual representation of how populated each area of your park is. They aren't actual individuals with desires or anything. They are like, just like, it's really hard to explain. I cannot understand it in my head, but they are just a meaningless graphic, essentially. They are a population meter in human form. They aren't individuals. Which is a shame, because even back in JPOG, you know, guests had likes, and you got to see which dinosaur each guest had seen and what they wanted to see and what's, you know, what their personality traits were and all this stuff. And it seems weird to me that 15 years later, plus like 17 years later or something stupid right now, that the guests are substantially simpler than they were in JPOG and in other similar games. So a guest update that fundamentally changes that, to make them a little bit more interesting, would be really good. Make them have sort of toiletry needs, you know, make car parks look a little bit more realistic and just a bit more interesting to build. Stuff like that, that'd be really good. You know, let them walk into a toy shop and then walk around with a toy after going to that toy shop. Again, that's something we used to have. And I think, whilst it's definitely not a top priority, it's something I hope Frontier addresses in the future. Because at the end of the day, we can't just keep adding new dinosaurs once the base game is done. Another thing I'd like to see is maybe an environment pack. Now, I've already said that terrain tools, at least the basics, should be expanded as a free download, because I think it is necessary for the base game. But down the line, let's say you wanted to do a volcanic pack. I don't even know what you'd include in it. I want to say snowy, but I don't think they'll ever do a snowy pack, because I just don't think it fits on Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna, on the 5 deaths, basically. In Costa Rica, you can't really have snow here in Costa Rica, but it's a video game, we should have choice. Right? Choice matters. If you don't want to use the snow, don't use the snow. Let's say they were going to do a snowy pack, right? And you'd include dinosaurs like Cryolophosaurus and other Arctic dinosaurs. Maybe some. So you could do a whole themed pack around the snow. So you'd give us a snowy terrain tool, like an icy terrain tool, maybe some decorations that are themed around it, like igloos and icebergs and snowy statues and stuff, and snow machines, stuff like that. And then what you could also do, because I think at the moment one of the problems people have is the base skins for a lot of the base dinosaurs, Velociraptor being the absolute prime example. They kind of suck, right? Some of the dinosaurs have fantastic skins, and some of the dinosaurs feel very neglected. Deinonychus, for example, looks really cool. All the skins are awesome for Deinonychus. This Edmontosaurus right here, I think that's a really cool skin. Egret. This was actually the very first dinosaur I believe we ever made in this park. Oh, it's definitely in the first episode anyway. It's on the very first thumbnail, I remember that much. But some of the others, like definitely the Velociraptor, strangely, Velociraptor is like a big ticket dinosaur for Jurassic World and Jurassic Park. It is, along with Rex, one of the main 2 dinosaurs of the entire series. I had it as my top dinosaur in Jurassic Park in my dinosaur ranking series. And yet the skins suck. All of them are terrible. Where? Excuse me, sorry. This green one is okay. This is like the only one I like. I mean, the others are fine, but they're not interesting. They're all very, very simple palette slops, and none of them are exciting to look at. Even the vivid Velociraptor is very plain and dull, which just seems... I thought that had escaped there. Spork. even the vivid one is very plain and boring to look at, which is just so counterintuitive to obviously what it should look like. So what I'd like to see is, let's call it the Snowy Bowie update. I don't know what the hell that means. Snowy update. The Arctic update, right? Not only would you bring in these new terrain tools and a few dinosaurs themed around that Arctic thing, maybe some new decorations, but you'd then go back to some of the older, more neglected dinosaurs and give them some interesting skins based on that biome. You could add, say, 10 more skins to the game, which I think once the base game is done, I think adding some skins really shouldn't be that difficult. Where's my Velociraptor? I always find Paul. Where's Amanda? Amanda's over there. Amanda. So that'd be really good as well. I think the base dinosaurs need not be ignored. Some have less skins than others. It's all the sort of Jurassic Park dinosaurs as well, that, like the main dinosaurs that seem to lack skin options, which is a little bit strange. They just need a little bit more than palette swaps. Ceratosaurus is one of the few dinosaurs that actually has something other than a palette swap. And you see here that's stripy, and that's not stripy. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it makes the coastal Ceratosaurus, this one here, a lot more interesting than the others, and we need that badly for some of the other dinosaurs. What else? I'd like to see some more work put into the campaign as well. Hopefully the main game and how you progress through the main game is addressed at some point. The problem with it is, my problem with it right now is that the story in the main game is basically non-existent. Now, people have had to go at me a little bit saying, oh, well, you shouldn't expect the story in a Tycoon game. But the pre-release for Jurassic World Evolution very much emphasized the story aspect of the game. You know, this is a Tycoon game with a story. We want to tell a proper story as you progress through the islands. And they absolutely did not, in my opinion. Like, it sounds harsh, but nowhere near was a story told in Jurassic World Evolution. I still there's like a brief dalliance with the idea that you're sending dinosaurs off to Dr. Wu for I keep clicking Yeager. Poly version 2, there you are, love. There's a brief dalliance with sending dinosaurs off to war and some genetic testing on the dinosaurs, but really there's no actual overarching plot at all. I thought the Fallen Kingdom DLC might expand it a little bit and bring in some of the ideas from Fallen Kingdom, but it didn't do that either. The problem with expanding that or doing that at all is that well, it'd be quite difficult to do now because you can't get the old what are the chances that, you know, Bryce Dallas Howard is going to come back and do more voice lines, and whereas Chris Pratt wasn't actually Chris Pratt in this game, Bryce Dallas Howard was. So if you want to bring her back and then use a different voice actor, like a non-famous voice actor, that's going to be just very weird to see. So it's very hard to expand the main game directly storyline wise, but what I'd like to see, maybe just to make the campaign a little bit more interesting in some ways, is maybe the discovery of a different island. You could, you know, introduce Sanctuary Island from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Give us a seventh island, I should say, in the playthrough that you unlock at the end of the game. That introduces maybe a couple of new dinosaurs in the process, some new terrain tools, link it all together. Tell us that we need to go through the campaign, unlock this island, 5-star that island, in order to unlock the terrain tools. People like to unlock things. Well, I do anyway. I don't know about you guys at home. I'm okay. No, excuse me. I'm okay with starting a game and not being given everything straight off the bat. The idea of having to go and unlock these islands and like unlock my terrain tools is absolutely fine with me. I think it'd be an interesting way to expand the main game, which is good because then new players have more to do in their main game. So, okay, that looked weird. So new players have more to do in their main game, which means new players consider the game longer, which is important. And it gives us another reason to go back and maybe play through a campaign, which I think a lot of people are hesitant to do right now because the campaign is very samey. Speaking of a samey campaign, another thing I would like to see in the future, and I'm just making stuff off the top of my head here. It is so warm in my bedroom right now. Speaking of a samey campaign, I would love to see a sort of a more random generation sort of option down the line. The game plays out the exact same way every single time now, no matter what you do, which is a bit of a shame. I don't necessarily want to be able to choose the order of the islands. I'm okay with being forced into that. What my main problem is that the order you discover your dinosaurs is the same every single time. You know, each island has specific dig sites that each island gives you, which is fine for a first playthrough because you've only done it once, right? But the idea of going through a second time and experiencing the exact same dinosaurs in the exact same order on the exact same islands isn't particularly exciting. Now, the addition of additional dinosaurs will make that better because then you can pick different dinosaurs on different islands, and by the end of the game you're not likely to have actually made all the dinosaurs if all you're focused on is unlocking new islands. But the idea to just have, let's say you've completed the campaign once, even make it again so that you have to do the campaign once to unlock this option, but just give us an option that we get a random bucket of dig sites each time we unlock an island. You know, you can have a couple in there that are set, say you always get Struthiomimus on the first island and Triceratops or something like that, and then randomise the others. Do that for every island. And that way you can make sure people can always get stars and progress, you know, so you don't roll and you get Giganotosaurus, Spinosaurus, T-Rex, and all those on the first island, which would be pretty damn difficult to do. You could control it a little bit, but we need that randomization option to make multiple playthroughs exciting. Just getting different dinosaurs and not knowing what dinosaur you're going to unlock when you reach another island would be a really exciting addition to the campaign. At the moment, once you finish the game, challenge mode and what I've been doing, which is stuff like this, just making my own random parks, is basically all there is to do. And there's just no replayability in the campaign, and you can't have replayability in a campaign without a little bit of RNG, really, or unlockables and stuff like that, and you know, that's a lot harder to do in a Tycoon game. Away we go. I love this. Stuff like this seems like such a minor addition, but it just makes your game feel a little bit more alive, and it looks great. Plus my park is fit, so... is there anything else I really badly want to see? Those are all things that I think Frontier will be considering. Of course, you know, I have a lot of respect for Frontier as a game dev, and I expect to see some good stuff down the line. You know, the idea is, and they have said, they're planning to support Jurassic World Evolution for the next 3 years. I suspect, if I had to wager a guess, the idea is to support Evolution until 2021, which is when the next Jurassic World film comes out, and that would be prime time to release a sequel. People panic a little bit about that, but that's 3 years away. 3 years of support for one game and then a sequel would really not be a big deal, and it lets them integrate all they learned from the first Jurassic World Evolution into the second Jurassic World Evolution, the Evolutioning, as it will be called in my head canon from now on. Hello, beautiful. I love the Brachiosaurus. Oh, Baleen. Bum. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, anyways, that's my door, so I'm going to go. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks in the next episode. Let me know down below what you want to see in the next updates, and I'll see you lovely folks soon. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Quick little shout out at the end. This video and others like it would not be possible at all without the support of you guys watching me at home, and also everyone on this Patreon page right here who supported me in the last month. If you want to help out as well, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. Every little really helps. Cheers.